Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast, Advocacy Edition. In these episodes, we tackle the issues that matter most to autistic people.
Each week, we share our insights and the experiences of our guests on how to live authentically and thrive as autistics.
I'm Dr. Angela Kingdon, the linguistic autistic.
And I'm Matt Lowry, licensed psychological practitioner. Let's dive into strategies for living your best, most authentically autistic life.
Episode 108, Autistic Medical Needs, Part 2. Hey, Angela.
Well, hey, Matt.
Are you ready for another hour and 6 minutes in Autistica?
Yes, is it going to be pure joy and unobliterated bliss?
Oh, God, no. We're very depressing today.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
See, that's
but
what, this is why,
yeah.
like, the advocacy the advocacy episodes are always a little bit of a downer. That's why we got to keep the joy flowing on Tuesdays.
Yeah. We'll talk about Monster High soon, and we'll talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, and we've got some weird stuff that I really want to do, but I'm sure that nobody else has ever heard about it. But it's all very autistic. But hopefully we can expand horizons in all sorts of fun ways, because today we're going to talk about how the healthcare system will destroy you. Great.
I'm ready for it. Hold on. I just have to quickly get a bottle of vodka, and I will be right back.
If we can get Crystal Head Vodka, we will eventually get Dan Aykroyd on.
Right, but that's nice way to get that in there.
Yeah,
to get that in there.
Yeah. We'll get you yet, Dan Aykroyd.
I am drinking British tea in my British adopted land, knowing that should I need healthcare, I can have it, but that doesn't mean it will not be filled with ableist fucktards who will deny me access to that care. But it will be free if I can get to it.
As we record this, the president has just seized Medicaid dollars and support for all sorts of other services that affect autistic people. And
wait, but what you don't know is while we were on break, do you know that there was just a plane crash in D.C.?
Yeah,
and he literally blamed disabled people for the plane crash. He was like,
my God.
This is the story. Pete Buttigieg was running the Department of Transportation. He had a major DEI program where it said hire blind people and people with all sorts of illnesses and diseases. And that is why the planes crashed. There were 45,000 people and they were all not qualified. They were hired because they were black, brown, or disabled. And now we have dead people because of Pete Buttigieg. You're welcome.
Oh, my God.
That's what you missed while we were recording.
And again, we are currently in the confirmation hearing for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. For being some sort of position that will inevitably destroy us, and his belief that autism is caused by vaccines, and he had a brain worm and wants to eliminate us and all that kind of stuff. And
I think he thinks of it as fixing us.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about
sort
it.
Sort of Nazi-esque.
Because again, the Nazis had a solution, a final solution to the problem, and we are actually a part of that. We
make the race impure, don't we?
Yeah. We had the black triangles, and leading to Hans Asperger and all those sort of things, so
the first, I think this was episode 14, we did Autistic Medical Needs. I know.
Way back.
Well, and it was such an innocent time.
Yeah.
It was I'm just thinking about that episode. Yeah. It was, they were heady days when we thought there was hope. And now all hope seems to be lost. And we're like, all right, if it all goes to hell in a handbasket, what do we do then when we still have medical needs?
And that's why we have this, because we talked a little bit about all the different types of medical concerns that autistic people have that neurotypical people don't have or have much less of. And we have a listener request about how to get needs met emphasis safely, because so today we're going to talk about all the different things that affect us more than neurotypical people. We're going to talk about why there's a big danger in us getting these needs met. And then we are going to talk about some life hacks to help you get your needs met in a neurotypical world that hates and fears us, because we are inevitably X-Men. So some of the things we talked about before include like POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, immune disorders, autoimmune disorders, allergies, asthma, eczema, psoriasis, PCOS, PMDD, endometriosis.
Wait, do you have your notes?
No, these are just things that I remember.
I'm like, that's almost the exact order we did the episode in.
Yeah. I script this in my head because I'm an autistic.
Wow, you're so autistic.
Yeah. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, 13 types. Let's see here. What else?
We did
stomach disorders, including constipation or diarrhea. Let's see here. Malnutrition, ARFID, eating disorders. What else?
But wait, I want to get to my favorite one because I only liked one thing you talked about.
Oh, yeah.
And that was that we have a lower chance of getting cancer.
Oh, yeah. So,
I hung my hat on that.
Study.
I love that.
And that's one of the things that we're going to be researching at Trailhouse, because there is a higher rate of all of this stuff for us, but it's not known if it's like a 1-to-1 genetic ratio. Like, if you're autistic, we're automatically at risk because all these are linked to us, or if it's because autistic people process so much data that we are always burning through this. We are always sort of, we also deal with a lot more anxiety, depression, suicide, all that kind of stuff.
And then the cortisol, which is going to create...
So that's the thing. That's the thing. Okay, so because we have nonstop data processing, we have higher rates of anxiety. And because we have higher rates of anxiety, we have higher cortisol. And because we have higher cortisol, it might lead to what we call epigenetic changes, where the cortisol pretty much boils off the ends of your DNA called telomeres, resulting in epigenetic changes that cause the POTS, the mast cell activation syndrome, the EDS, all of this other stuff, because we might be genetically predispositioned to it, but not actually activate it until the stress catches up to us. And because we are also more likely to have CPTSD because of our hyperconnected brains perceiving things as more traumatic than neurotypicals would. For instance, like there was a recent statistic that said that an event that would cause like 6% of neurotypicals to develop PTSD, it would cause 90% of us to
Wow, I believe
PTSD.
it. I totally get it. Yep.
Because we have a hyperconnected, hyperdense amygdala that just really, really scream whenever something happens because it shatters our world. We talked about how, moving is traumatic for us. And moving might not be traumatic for a neurotypical person. Constant rejection in school is a form of CPTSD for us because, the studies have shown that neurotypicals take an instant dislike to us because we fall into the uncanny valley. They don't know what to make of us. We're weird. So we get a lot more rejection. We have what we call perception sensitivity dysphoria, which is a thing that no neurotypical will ever talk about, but every autistic person knows about because you're hyper aware of how you're being perceived.
Right. So we always talk about rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
Yeah.
But that makes so much sense. I'm always my biggest problem with that is I can't trust it comes with this whole set of things because I will think everybody liked me and I was magnificent. Yeah. And then later I will find out that's when everyone decided to create the new text messaging group without me in it.
Yeah.
Like precisely at the moment I thought everyone decided they liked me.
And this is the thing, because whenever we do the Monster High episode, Twyla Boogeyman, the autistic character, she has this tendency to turn into shadow mode and just lurk in shadow mode so she's not perceived. And it's never said that she has perception sensitivity dysphoria, but we like to be in the background. We like to be in the shadows. We like to not be judged because it's safer there. Because otherwise, there is a chance that we will be judged, we will be left out, people will actively dislike us. But if we are invisible, then there's no chance for that to happen.
Right.
So, but this is the thing, living in a neurotypical world is inherently traumatic for us. The CPTSD rate is so high for autistic people that neurotypical people can't tell what's CPTSD and what's autism traits. And that's the thing about the anxiety and the depression and the gastrointestinal distress and all of this stuff. It's not normal autistic stuff. It's autistic distress cues.
Right. Is your theory that it comes out of the trauma? Like if we lived in Autistica full time instead of just 2 hours a week, do you think we wouldn't have the cortisol reactions because of the trauma? Because I think we'd still have the anxiety. Like I'd still be doing the chest moves in my head all the time.
If we had a simpler world, we wouldn't have as much data that we needed to process. For instance, like when you're walking in nature, you can process a ton of data, like looking at all the leaves move, looking at how the sunlight goes through the trees, but we don't perceive it as a sense of attack. We live in a world that constantly pushes us past our limits as far as noise goes, as far as, different conversations, harsh lighting, tasks that we have to do that are pointless and we don't understand why we do it. And then when we ask why we have to do it, we get criticized.
Yeah, no. By the way, the secret on that is you just do it. You don't ask, because then it's twice as bad. Doing it's really bad. Doing it is like 100 bad. Asking about it is like 500 bad, and then includes a lot more work. So at some point you're just like, okay, I'm going to do these dumb things. They sure do seem dumb.
And that's the thing, because of our bottom-up processing, we are bottom-up socializers. We don't just naturally take orders from people above us, because neurotypicals have what we call pathological demand compliance.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for them about that. That must be really hard.
Oh, I need to add that to our book. Hold on.
We have a new book coming out. It might be out by the time you get this episode, and there is the most kick-ass comedy glossary. It's accurate. It's just funny to me. And it has definitions like pathological demand compliance.
Because
PDC.
The
PDC.
neurotypicals have PDC. They just automatically do whatever their bosses tell them to do without question. I find that insane. But,
it's so sad.
Autistic.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. We are bombarded 24/7 by all of this stuff, and therefore it causes the cortisol to build up. And this is a thing that I found, because after my breakup, after the move, I was on edge for months, and I'm just now getting back to where I'm sleeping a lot, and I'm just now recovering from all of that. And it takes a very, very long time for us to deal with all this stuff. And this is the thing, because if you've ever heard the phrase, doctors are taught to, if you hear hoof prints, think horses, not zebras.
Yep.
We are zebras.
Yeah. Yes, I got that memo.
And because we are zebras, all of these things happen more often to us. And because we are researchers, because we are bottom-up processors, we will go off and look at all these things on our own. We will go off and do our own medical research, because we will say, hey, that's a very interesting thing happening to us. Google MD it, and then, you find out, oh, hey, I've got something going on. And we might find out that this is more likely to happen in our community. Like we were talking about PCOS and endometriosis. It is linked to the wonky connective tissue in our meat bodies. And it's a thing that I've begun asking every autistic woman or AFAB person, when I meet them, do you have a history of this? Because it is so incredibly common that it is, for me, it informs my diagnostic criteria.
Oh, right. So if somebody tells you they have PCOS, or definitely if they say they have EDS or mast cell, you're like, oh, this probably is a sign they are autistic.
Yeah. If somebody says they have sleep apnea, definitely an autistic
going
sign
on the
because
list.
we forget to breathe. Well,
It's so, I mean, I think that there's some meme group that's like, I've been autistic all along.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a list of things that I've gone to the doctors for. Like, I have PCOS, I have Hashimoto's, I have gastrointestinal problems. We haven't talked about ear issues, but I bet that's connected too. I'll tell you about my ear problems. I got a lot of those. Nobody put this together. Literally, I went to the doctors for 40 years. I had the tubes. I had so much crying about my ears. Nobody wanted to be like, oh, maybe we should check for this. No.
We do have ear infections more often than most people.
You're welcome.
Even as an adult, I will have ear infections.
Me too.
So, my son
adults
had
don't get
tons of ear infections as a kid.
Yeah. No, I still get ear infection. That's the go-to. See what I mean? I knew it. I've been autistic all along.
Yeah. Yeah, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism.
But how many checklists when you go to the doctor and they take a health history?
Yeah.
I mean, that probably happens once a year where you have to fill out. They're looking at it all in one place. It's not like just the ear doctor knew about my ears and just my OBGYN knew about my PCOS. They look at it all on one sheet. That doesn't trigger something. That's not how doctors' offices work. They're not like, oh, look, this collection of things. No.
So this is the thing about the autism, because physicians and psychologists are taught that autism is a quote-unquote behavioral disorder that causes us to be socially awkward and not make eye contact and unable to understand friendships. So they don't see anything that links us to any sort of physical or physiological health. They don't see any of this. They know that we're more likely to be anxious or depressed. They know that we're more likely to commit suicide. We have an average life expectancy
Die by
of
suicide,
36.
but
Yeah, and but again, when it was brought up to the Kentucky Autism Council, the person who was getting paid to study autistic suicide came to the conclusion that we commit suicide because we don't understand friends. So she was going to teach
There's
people.
That theory of mind again.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
And I had to say, no, we understand it. It's just that everybody hates us.
Here am I thinking it was my extreme male brain.
Yeah. So this made her cry. And then she wanted an apology from me for telling her that she was wrong.
Yeah. We call that allistic fragility, just so you know.
Yeah. So we are now studying this at Trailhouse, and we will get much better data from that from really autistic people. So, but this is the thing. Doctors don't know about this. Psychologists don't know about this. Autistic people, we know about it because we are connected with other autistic people. And this is one of the things that we share in our group, Autistic Connections. We have a subgroup that links to all these professionals. It's a group run by Toby Walters, friend of the show, and she has all these connections with doctors who specialize in POTS, mast cell, EDS, all of these things. So when you need a diagnosis, these are the right people to go to. And these are the people that see a correlation between all of these different disorders and autistic people.
Yeah, and I just want to share another thing, because Toby really helped me. Jesse had this problem, which was that his shoulder and his knee kept popping out of the joint.
Yeah.
And so I called Toby and I was like, I'm sure we would know if he had EDS, because we went to his, pediatrician appointments every year for 18 years. And she asked me literally 3 questions.
Yeah.
And then she asked me, she's like, how about you? Does basically the Baton test, which is in our forthcoming book. She asked me like a handful of questions. She's like, right, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to find you a doctor. And then when we went to a physical therapist, they already knew what EDS was. They knew what hypermobility was. They knew it was connected to autism. And I'm not having to explain all that, so we could get right into, hey, what does Jesse need to do in order to work out? One of his big challenges, or not challenges, but with his anxiety, if he works out regularly, he is so much more regulated.
Yeah.
But he can't work out.
Stimulation.
Right. Like, I don't need that. I need a book. But he needs to work out, and his joints will not stay where they are required to be in order to work out. Like, we needed an OT PT plan that was going to work. And if we spent 2 years begging, pleading, cajoling, bringing in reams of data, which would be my plan, like, I am going to educate this physical therapist.
Yes. The autistic way. And that's the thing, because when I was a kid, I routinely popped my hips out of place. And I can turn my feet around 180 degrees in the opposite direction. And I was just, I'm very flexible. I didn't ever realize that was linked to my brain. Right. And most people don't. And again, there's 13 different types of EDS, ranging from I can bend my thumb to touch my arm to my veins don't hold together.
Right. That's a bad one. That's a real bad one. We just did a book on that.
And this is a big thing, because when you go to a regular doctor who doesn't have any of they might have had 1 week in med school to train on this stuff. They have no idea what to do about that. They have no idea what autism is. And when you go in, you might have a negative interaction. But that's going to be the second part.
We should take a break.
We need to go take a break and pay some bills. But when we come back, we are going to talk about interaction with neurotypical doctors and what a nightmare that is.
Hey everybody, this is Angela, and I have an incredible opportunity to share with you from friend of the pod and one of my favorite authors that I've had the opportunity to work with, Becca Lori Hector. Becca's book, Always Bring Your Sunglasses, is a heartfelt and honest look at life through the lens of an autistic adult, filled with insights, personal stories, and a heck of a lot of empowerment. And she is offering it totally 100% free to our listeners. All you have to do is visit alwaysbringyoursunglasses.com. That's alwaysbringyoursunglasses.com for a free copy of Becca's book.
We are back, and we have been talking about a lot of health issues that affect our autistic meat bodies, and we are going to talk about, in this part, what happens when you go to a neurotypical physician and say, hey, I'm autistic, I've been doing a ton of research, and I've found out that this is very common for me, and this is what's going to happen, and that never, ever, ever goes.
No, let me tell you what happened. Yes, the doctor is like, oh my goodness, a patient with information. I love researching. I'm so interested in medicine. Thank you for bringing your fine data to me. I have noticed many of my autistic clients are excellent at research. Tonight, when I'm at home with my family, I will read this and I will get back to you. I'm so excited to learn more.
Yeah, I wish it was.
Said no doctor ever.
No.
They really, really worked hard, and I think they were traumatized to get their degree. Well, and so they really want us to not be smart.
So this is a big thing about the training for neurotypical physicians. Neurotypical physician training is essentially a hazing program, because you're expected to be on call for like 72 hours at a time. You're expected to be able to do all this superhuman stuff. You're supposed to be able to memorize all this stuff. And because of this extensive, expensive training program, neurotypical doctors have a lot of internalized, or a lot of rampant ableism, where they believe that they know more than most people. And again, in many cases, they do know more than most people. They just don't know more about you.
Yes.
And this is a big thing, because okay, keep in mind that neurotypicals tend to be top-down processors, where they have a big idea, then they look for reasons to support that idea, as opposed to us who are bottom-up processors, where we have data, and that leads us to a conclusion. So, again, neurotypicals are top-down socializers, but we'll get to that in a minute. So top-down processing for a neurotypical, as far as diagnostic stuff goes, means that there is a lot of stuff that is more common, so they're going to look to rule that out, like the sniffles. Do you have pneumonia? Do you have, I don't know, a broken leg or something?
A BMI over 26.
Exactly, because everything that is wrong with you is inevitably due to being fat.
Right.
And everybody listening is fat because they believe everybody is fat unless you're supermodel skinny.
Right.
And even supermodels could stand to lose some weight. What's up with those Oreos? Don't
Right.
ever enjoy your life. Stop enjoying things, people.
I mean, I guess the bias is if there's a way to fix it easily, then let's fix it easily. And I don't think that's wrong, but it ends up feeling a whole lot like gaslighting and being pushed away when we know real things are happening.
Well, I mean, even with, our field, CBT is essentially medical gaslighting.
Yes.
Because it's, have you tried not being sad? Yeah,
Right. Or here's a technique to not be sad. Every time that you think a sad thought, think to yourself, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Then click your heels together and you will notice you're happy.
Yeah, because we don't need to think that RFK Jr. could be in charge of health. He
likes CBT, I'm sure.
We need to be happy about things, happy all the time. Otherwise, we'll be wished into the cornfield.
Systematic discrimination.
Exactly.
Click your heels 3 times and say, I can do anything.
And so this is another thing, because neurotypical doctors are largely white, because it takes a lot of money to get through medical school, and a lot of doctors who are rich are white. So they are trained on white males. They are not trained a lot on females. They are not trained on any minority. Many textbooks for the longest time, and some still do, say that black people feel less pain than white people. So you can be less careful with them because they don't feel pain. A lot of people will have...
Is that why so many black women die in labor?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so this is a thing, because everything we know about obstetrics comes from experimenting on black slaves without anesthesia. Because, again, humans were objects back then, instead of treating, enslaved people as human beings.
Right. Well, 3/5 of a person is weird, because which 3/5?
Oh, God, that's the thing. Because in COVID, did you know that we were less likely to receive medical treatment if we got COVID? Because the CDC said that we accounted for 80% of a person.
Autistic people do?
Yes.
What?
Yes, in 2020.
Oh.
Because there was a gigantic...
I mean, I'm glad we're not 3/5. I mean, that's
if you're black and autistic, then the fraction's fraction.
Right. Maybe they're 3.5, but they're 2.75. But we're 4/5.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh? How you like them apples?
Because that's the thing. When they realized during COVID that that resources were limited because some orange man gave all of our resources to another country.
Right.
Can't remember who that was, but
yeah, I don't know any orange men.
The resources were chosen to be allocated based on an algorithm, and all these different conditions were rated to be a quality of life scale, and autistic people were deemed to have a lower quality of life and therefore less deserving of treatment than neurotypical people who would have a higher quality of life. So they absolutely needed the intubators and the hospital beds and to be cured with the antivirals, because we were probably going to just suffer and die anyway, because again, our life expectancy is 36.
Well, that's
Who
why
needs to
that's
fix us?
so that's very interesting. There was I forget the lawyer's name, but I find him really interesting. There was a guy, lawyer in charge, I think an actuary, probably autistic because I like him so much, who is in charge of figuring out the value of each of the lives of the victims of 9/11.
Yep.
And so it was a combination of what's your earning potential and what's your life expectancy.
Yeah.
So like a 30-year-old white guy who works at Lehman Brothers is worth more than a 50-year-old black janitor who lives in Harlem. And that was literally how they cut the checks.
Yeah.
And I am sure you could come up with that 80%. I'm sure that would have worked with that analysis too. It must be what actuaries actually do to determine the value of someone's life. So if you're autistic, I'm sure we have a lower earning potential.
Yeah.
And because we're so unemployed, so chronically unemployed,
Yeah.
and then shorter life. So
Yeah.
we're going to make less money and we're going to die sooner. Obviously, our lives aren't as valuable. Just let them fucking die.
Yeah. And this is a big thing because, again, a lot of autistic people aren't identified as being autistic because they're able to mask. Because if you make eye contact, if you have a job in, say, I don't know, engineering
IT,
or software,
actuarial science.
Yeah, exactly. You're not identified as being autistic, but a lot of people get an autism diagnosis because they are systemically disabled. Again, we go for disability based on the social model of disability, in that we live in a world that is just not made for us because we are sensory overwhelmed, socially overwhelmed. We don't rise in the corporate ladder because we don't do the top-down processing, the top-down socializing that we need. And therefore, a lot of us are underemployed. A lot of us are homeless. And again, this is a big thing about doctors and their, ableism biases, because they are used to mingling with rich people. Their people are really, really rich people that have $1 million homes where they go out and golf and socialize. And those are the people that they see as people. We are the people that they see as not people. Because they are less likely to treat a homeless person as a person. And this comes to their top-down socializing, because we've talked about this before. A lot of people say respect means treat you as a human being, whereas other people say respect means treat me as an authority. And because we are bottom-up socializers, we socialize equally with people of all walks of life, regardless of race or religion or background. We are much kinder to people who don't have houses. We are much kinder to people who are displaced by war. We are much more, we have higher empathy for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And we tend not to just blindly follow orders from our social superiors or our bosses or presidents or whatever. But that's not how doctors work. Doctors got to be where they are by following this social hierarchy. So if we don't treat them as an authority, they won't treat us as a person.
Yeah. Yep. And that is the message I have been repeatedly given when saying things I know to be true about myself.
But that's the thing, because you don't know you as well as this doctor knows you, because this doctor has a degree and went to school, and they know all the things. They are godlike. Right. And we believe that, again, a human being is the most expert of their own life, because only you have been living in your
bottom-up processing. You cannot have all these data points. There is no way you have not been here. And in 7 minutes or whatever insurance is allocating for our meeting, you are not going to get there. That's the other thing I have I have so many notes and I do so much scripting before a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
But then I do all this preamble before I get to my script. So I'm like, hey, you should know I'm autistic, so I'm going to talk a lot. But I have prepared some things. I have some documents and I will share them with you. But before I share them with you, I just want to explain, because funny story. And then all of a sudden the time's gone and I'm so mad at myself. And then Spirit of the Stairs the next week, I'm replaying it all.
Yeah. And when I worked at Bardstown Behavioral Health, fuck those guys. We were all laid off because the bosses, the neurotypical doctors in charge, expected us to have 15-minute sessions with all of the kids that we saw for therapy, because that's the model that they were used to. Mm-hmm. And when we tried to explain that's not how mental health works, they laid us all off for disagreeing with them.
Right. This is the way, sadly.
Yeah. They do not like to be disagreed with. They do not like to have too much data. They believe they come in with a checklist to say, do you have a cold? Do you have pneumonia? Do you have COVID? Do you have this? Do you have that? And then they give you pills because, again, a lot of the medical industry is pharmaceutical based. Mm-hmm. And fun fact, it turns out that it's something that surprised me. Pharmaceuticals are not developed for specific purposes. Pharmaceuticals are developed because they make new chemical compounds, feed them to rats, and if less than half the rats die, then they start feeding them to higher mammals, and eventually to people. If enough people don't die, they start recording the effects, and then they sell it to that because, like, Viagra was originally going to be targeted for for heart health, but it turns out it caused a lot of boners, and that was way more profitable. So that's how Viagra became the boner pill.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Well.
So I'm not saying that, all medication is bad, because obviously medication does help, but medication is way more hit or miss than anyone would like to believe.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so this is the thing, because when we have an emergency, we go into the emergency room and we say, oh, yes, by the way, I've dislocated this. By the way, I am allergic to this specific dye. Please don't give me that allergic dye because it will kill me. And the doctors say, that can't possibly happen. Chances of that would be so rare. And now my friend is dead, and right. I don't have an artist for my dragon books.
Right. That is what happened. Yeah.
And
and you're lucky if you don't get banned from the hospital for life.
Yeah, because, again, when the doctors don't listen to you and accidentally kill you, they take great offense because it goes on their record as killing people.
Which they're not
they don't like
into.
That.
Right.
They don't like that.
So they're going to blame that on you. Yep.
Yeah. And if you go in and advocate for your child, you're a difficult parent.
Yeah. And by the way, it's not your fault for being wrong. Like, they're not like, oh no. Nobody told. It's your fault for being difficult.
Yes.
Violent, aggressive. Yeah. I have a friend who needs a heart transplant and was like not getting the medicine he needed and almost died. And when he complained about like almost dying because they didn't give him the prescription he needed, they removed him as a client for being like aggressive. And now he can't have a heart, and that means he dies.
Yeah.
And they're fine with this.
Yes, because that is the way that their system works.
Right.
Yeah, and this is the thing that kills us. This is the thing that contributes to our lower life expectancy. Because if you go in and you advocate for your child, you're diagnosed with Munchausen by proxy. Because you're saying that you know more about this, and you know more about the autism, and you know more about these health issues. You're difficult. You're angry. You're a helicopter parent. Mm-hmm. You're not friendly enough. You're scary. I have been told that I was scary because I was advocating for one of my clients.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to have a meeting with the higher ups because this one person said, "That scared me." And I was like, "No, I just get very passionate when I talk about my people."
Wow, you're scary. Well, that my friend who needs the heart isn't going to get it and will therefore die is a over 6 feet, big guy, has a beard, and like is dying. So he's not going to beat them up. But I think if you're a guy of a certain size with a certain amount of testosterone, like they will ascribe whatever. For me, I'm not scared. I'm hysterical. I'm dramatic.
Well,
I'm a pain in the fucking ass.
Yeah. And that's a big thing because, women are quote unquote unreliable. And
I heard that in Shakespeare.
When going for an autism evaluation, neurotypical evaluators want someone to come along with the woman, whether it's her husband, because again, lesbians don't exist. So your husband has
bring
to
your
come with
husband
you, or your parents,
or your father.
your father. Your male parent has to be there to vouch for you and tell the doctor about you while you sit there and do all this stuff.
Right.
And it's incredibly frustrating with all this stuff because if you're too big and too scary, you don't get treatment. If you're too small, you don't get treatment. If you try to advocate for other people, you don't get treatment.
It's almost like there's not a logical bottom-up reason. It's almost like they're just making some shit up because they're top-down processors and they just don't like us.
Yeah. And again, they have this impunity. And it's very, very, very frustrating. That can really, really ruin all kinds of stuff. And it requires a very, very delicate balancing act with all of this stuff in order to just, meet your needs and not die. It's very, and again, when you get to a specialist who understands this stuff, they're more likely to get you the care that you need. When you get to, especially other aware neurodivergent clinicians, because again, there's a lot. When I was in the hospital for my kidney stone and appendicitis, the doctor there, I don't know if he knew that he was autistic, but he was very, very autistic, and I liked him a lot. He came in and said, "Well, do you drink? No. Do you drink a lot of sodas? No. Do you do this? No. Do you do this? No. Do you drink coffee? Yeah." He said, "Well, that'll do it. Coffee is linked to kidney stones." And then the next time he came in, he was drinking some coffee. And it's like, I get you, sir. But yeah, he didn't make eye contact. He went through this entire list. Greatest medical interaction I've ever had. He was fantastic.
Wow.
But yeah, but this is the thing. It's so disastrous for us for our health to depend on how well we socialize with the neurotypicals, because it especially if you come in with the big list of criteria. If you come in with your big list of, I've done the research. When I do autism evaluations, I love it when an autistic person comes in with a big 40-page list of all their traits, because I will go through it and go through it and go through it and go through it. But of course, by the time I've, just by virtue of having that document, I'm like, oh yeah, bottom-up processor. Well
if
done.
you brought that to us, so in Adult Autism Home Assessment, our book,
we have a book.
We have a book, and it literally teaches you how to put together this extensive dossier. And then in the book, I'm like, if you actually do all of this, just so you know you are autistic, you have passed the test. Any neurotypical by this point would be like, you want me to do what now? You want me to take all these tests and then document them and then cross-reference them and then create tabs and multiple spreadsheets that are like, have macros?
Color-coded spreadsheets.
That are color-coded?
Yes.
And then autistic people are like, I can't wait to make this spreadsheet.
Yeah, we look very forward to it because this is the way.
Right.
So, but we have to interact with neurotypicals in very, very different ways. And we'll get to that right after this commercial break.
I thought you might say that.
Hey, clinicians. Are you looking for an affirming way to assess autism and ADHD that bridges the gap between self-identification and formal testing? NeuroPebble's diagnostic assessment training for master's level clinicians is here to help you confidently navigate assessments. This course prioritizes lived experience and understanding the nuances in the diversity of traits. You can even get 7 CEUs if you need them. Start today at bit.ly/neuropebble and take the first step towards transforming your practice. At NeuroPebble, every idea is a pebble that paves the path to a more neurodivergent, affirming world. Go to bit.ly/neuropebble to learn more.
We're back. It's Matt and Angela. Yes.
That very course is part of this to try to make interaction with professionals better for us. Because this is the thing. We need to teach neurotypicals how to interact with neurodivergent people. Because for the longest time, well, I say that as if it's ended. We need to protect ourselves from neurotypical professionals.
Yes.
We need to be aware that they are top-down processors, that they are top-down socializers, that they need to be coddled, because you can't go up to Dr. Bob Jenkins and say, "Hey, Bob, I need some help."
Right.
You must say, "Hello, sir. Hello, doctor." And
Right.
It's that scene
What a
from,
lovely degree you have there that's framed behind your desk and so extraordinarily large.
exactly. You say,
Must
"Oh,
have-
you went to that school that I love and care
Ooh,
about."
that's a great school. You got in there. Whoa.
You must be
buddy
a
boy.
You must be a high functioning neurotypical to go to such a school as that. Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. The size of your brain and or testicles are very impressive to me, sir. Inevitably, sir.
Sir.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
sometimes the mams are worse. But yeah, the thing about this is, and I think this is why self-identification is so important,
God,
is
yes.
you are not making this up.
No.
If you have felt that way, it is part of living in neurotypicalis instead of living in autistica, is that your whole life people are telling you doctors know things you don't. And intuitively, because you're autistic, you're like, no, I know these things, I will share them. And then your options are either to rebel and say, no, I'm going to stand by this. And then people don't like you and you end up in lockup or shot or whatever they can do to you, some sort of seclusion room, or you go along with it.
Yeah.
And that masking is what we often do, but then we feel like crap about it. And like, this is the thing, is even if you are masking by commenting on the size of their degree, wink, wink, it's totally different than if you are actually doing that and saying, okay, let me write down the notes and do what my doctor says without thinking. There's like conscious, I don't know what you call it, but it's like, for me, it's like conscious masking and unconscious masking. And if I'm consciously masking to get what I want, it is still harmful, but it's not nearly as harmful.
Yeah, because before I forget, they will accuse you of doctor shopping if you try.
I forgot about that term.
If you try to if a doctor gives you a bad report and you go to a different doctor, there's got to be some chain in the record, some record in the chain.
A note in your file.
Yeah, that says, "Hey, they didn't listen to my wonderful, wonderful opinion. They're going to go around until they find someone who agrees with them." And the somebody that I saw once, I was labeled as someone who would just agree with anybody, because this particular person had been to other people to say, "I think I'm autistic." "No, you can't be autistic." "I think I'm autistic." "No, you can't be autistic." And I was like, holy shit, yeah, you're really autistic. And like, oh my, I can't believe that guy would ever agree that you're autistic because you're a woman. And yeah. But this is
probably a woman who made eye contact.
Yes, exactly. So this is the thing about neurotypicals. A very smart person once made that analogy of put in a dime and twist the.
I said you put.
that.
Yeah, so I actually learned this from my very neurotypical lawyer because I had so much evidence when I was going through my custody trial that if I could just present this evidence to a judge, I knew I would win. And so I would say lots and lots of words. And my lawyer said, no, that's not how court works. It's a vending machine. You're going to put in a quarter and they're going to get a can of soda. So if the judge asks you a question, you answer that. They don't also get a bag of peanuts. You don't get anything extra. You just put in the quarter and you just get the can of Coke. And so all of my prep for trial was going through how to answer when there's hierarchy. So the judges are just like the doctor, yeah. But just like doctors, because they got this degree and they're a judge and they really want you to talk about how big their degree is. And you have to follow their rules or they dismiss you out of hand. And he's like, you will lose custody if you do not answer the question and only the question. And they will say you're unreliable, crazy, can't be trusted. Like,
you can't have emotion.
Right. But you can't not have emotion.
Yeah.
Do you ever see what happens there?
You have to have a little bit of emotion, otherwise you're
the right amount
robot,
in the right way.
Much. Yeah.
Right.
You can have a single tear go down. You can, but again, if you, they won't listen to you because that's seen as aggression.
No. Yes. Yeah.
So when you go to a neurotypical doctor, if you're going in for like POTS, you want to make sure that you say, yes, there's a family history of POTS. Because you can say, yeah, I'm pretty sure that my aunt had POTS. I'm pretty sure that this person had POTS. But you don't say, I'm pretty sure. You say, yeah, there's a family history with my aunt who had POTS and this and this and this. Because even with your unofficial diagnosis, you could say, yes, these people in my family had POTS. And then the doctor will say, oh, is it possible that you do this? Oh, yes, I do this. Well, do you do this? Well, yes, I do this. Well, I'll send you to a specialist to see if this is the thing. Because they like to put the puzzle together themselves.
Yes, that is it. That's such a big linchpin.
They want to feel like Autistic Dr. House. Because they want to feel like they solved the mystery.
Without doing any bottom-up processing.
Exactly.
No, but wasn't there a thing, am I making this up? Wasn't there a thing? It's some detective show. And I don't know if it's Sherlock Holmes or what I'm making up, but there was a Sherlock Holmes-like character that would always give the wins to the detective. Because, like, it was like in order to get the work, it had to look, what show was this? It had to look like the actual police detective figured it out. So he would, oh God, it was such a good show.
That sounds
I will
like
ask my husband.
We should cover on here.
Yeah. Basically,
if listeners know this, please put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments, and I'll ask my husband, and he'll also remember. I don't know if it was a Martin Freeman show or what I'm remembering, but basically, he would solve it. He would lay all the cookies out and give all the cookies in order to the detective. He had to let the detective believe he solved it.
Yeah.
So every time he thought he solved it, and then that's how he kept getting invited back, like as a good luck charm or something. But yeah, if you just tell them they don't like it, you're fired.
No, because again, you're going against their godlike integrity.
Right.
You have to lay out the breadcrumbs, not too many, not too few, and get it to where they are interested enough in you as a human being, because you have to be sympathetic, you have to be human, you have to say, yes, oh, I have children, oh my, I feel so bad.
You know what though?
Do you like the sports ball?
Yeah, I was going to say, you could even just name the day of the week.
Yeah. It sure is a Monday today,
oh,
isn't it?
It's Thursday.
These sort of things always happen on Wednesdays, don't they?
Oh, God, Friday. Finally. Yeah. It's Friday.
Yeah.
That's good.
You have to do these sonar ping interactions to where, how are you? Well, I would say that I'm fine, but I'm here at the doctor.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good one. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Also, if you see a picture of a pet on their desk.
Oh, God, yes.
You're going to want to ask about that pet. Ooh, what's your puppy's name? Ooh, you got a puppy.
Yeah.
They like that.
Anything that facilitates the top-down socializing, because that is what is going to endear them to you and cause them to care.
Yeah.
Because they will not care if you are normal.
And
by
I
normal,
do
mean
the
us.
diploma thing. Like if I have any
Yeah.
connection to that school, oh, like, oh, UConn? I know nothing about UConn. I left Connecticut when I was 15. I'm like, UConn? I grew up in Connecticut. What'd you think of Stores?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't fucking know or care what you thought of Stores.
yeah.
I got an ice cream in Stores once when I was 7. I got nothing.
Yeah,
But
if
I'm
somebody-
like, yeah, let me just talk about the degree.
in Kentucky, if somebody comes in, well, I mean, honestly, I don't have to do this anymore because I 90% of the time see autistic people. But when I had to see allistics, if they came in wearing a UK shirt, I would say something along the lines of, "Oh, I taught some Wildcats when I was at UK."
Ooh, that's
yeah,
nice.
but
That was a good one.
That's what I will do if I have to interact with, neurotypical doctors or, other people on the autism council or, that kind of stuff, because that's the only stuff that they care about. They don't care about normal stuff like your research or, your collections or stuff that any reasonable person would care about.
And they
So-
will maybe listen to a little bit more of your research if you can give them these like top down cookies.
Yeah.
Like the only way you can earn your way to it is by earning their trust so that they don't have the red flags pinging that you're going to be a pain in the ass. So you got to
Yeah.
do the
Yeah,
fakey stuff.
It's a way to unlock that, because this is they only want someone who has neurotypical social skills. Otherwise, we are difficult.
I have to tell you some research I did. I think it might apply in the doctor case, but for the book, I was talking about how you were one of
Oh
only
yes, we have a book.
Yes, but I was talking about how you were one of only 2 autistic people that could diagnose autism in Kentucky. And I thought, I wonder how many people can diagnose autism in Kentucky in total. So I ran the numbers
This is an interesting number. What is this number?
well, here is the juicy number. I should make you buy the book to find out. But the juicy number is 0.07, less than 0.1, 0.07% is the chance you have of getting an autistic diagnostician in the state of Kentucky.
Holy shit.
0.07. That is like lottery numbers. And I bet I did not run every state. I only ran your state. What I did was I went to the certifying bodies for neuropsychs, for pediatricians, for clinical psychologists, and I got the numbers by state.
Yeah.
LLPs. Like I went through everyone in Kentucky that can diagnose as the signature. So not like SLPs that are part of a team or something like that. So every final signature, I think it was 1325 was the total number.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean they are all diagnosing autism. They could be doing other things. They're
But they're
just
licensed
qualified
to do
to.
it.
Yeah, but of the number of licenses, your chance of actually finding someone is needle in the haystack shitty. So
Wow.
now that doesn't mean there aren't autistic people that don't know it or know it and aren't out, but in terms of out, and that is probably a similar chance if you're looking for a gastroenterologist or an OBGYN or a PT.
And this is why we absolutely need autistic connections. Shameless plug for my Facebook group, because we need a network to find people that will listen to us. Because if you have a doctor that listens to your concerns and has correctly diagnosed you and you are feeling healthier, you must share that information
Yes.
with your fellow autistic people.
Yes.
You must get on message boards and share this. You must get on Discord. You must get on Facebook. You must get on Instagram, TikTok. I gained some prolific status during the pandemic thanks to TikTok, because, it was the grand awakening of our people, and people came to see me and said, "Hey, Matt's great" on TikTok. And then more people started to see me, and that's how I met Meg Proctor, Meg Farrell. That's how I met Angela. This is where we got to where we are, because we absolutely need to share this information. Our people need it. So when you're looking for recommendations, don't just go to, Google. Go to other autistic people who have been in similar situations. Go to message boards for people who have EDS or POTS or mast cell or other stuff.
Every single one of these is going to have a group, and they may even have a subgroup like eczema and autism, like sleep apnea and autism. They will have specialized Reddits, like find the people. Don't just go to a doctor.
Yeah, because again, it's needle in a haystack, apparently. I had no idea I was that rare. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I had no idea what was going to come up, but I'm like, I was just writing, and I'm like, Matt is one of only 10%. And then I was like, is it 10%? I bet it's 1%. And then I was like, let me just figure this out. And I'm like, 0.07%.
Wow.
Holy cannoli, Batman. Yeah. That's yeah. So we
and
need
I'm the only
each
person
other.
who does both adults and kids. So yeah.
Even weirder. We need each other, and now we need each other more, because I know we don't have that much longer on this episode, but I want to talk about the
about
DEI crisis. I want to talk about how people are being driven out of their jobs that are making sure more of us are hired. So now there are even fewer, and how at times like this, the only thing we have are our communities.
Yes.
And I think in-person communities, Trail House, I think, is such a key resource. I really want to tell Mary I want to open Trail House here in Bristol. That needs to be a franchise. We need community hubs. We need to find our people. We need safety and to know who we can trust with questions like this.
Yeah, especially since Trail House, offers openly autistic practitioners. And that when you come to some place like Trail House, there is this level of fidelity and understanding that you will get there, but that you won't get elsewhere. And if we can have hubs all around the world, hubs of safety, of community, where autistic professionals, autistic clients, just autistic people in general can go to feel safe and heard and understood, then we can make the world a safer place for all of us.
Yeah, that actually reminds me, we didn't talk about the vision stuff, but I think you're going through.
Oh yeah, because
some of the
incredibly
conditions.
Chronic dry eyes. I have my eye drops. Because again, I don't have insurance. Would cost $600 out of pocket.
That's what mine are. And you didn't buy. I can give you what's left over of mine. They are so fucking painful. I paid the $600.
Because my optometrist knows somebody, I get them for $55.
Oh my God, you're amazing. I couldn't do it. They hurt like hell.
Yeah, it's salt water. It's putting salt water into your eyes that changes the shape of your eyes because, again, and this is another thing about cortisol. Cortisol can cause incredibly dry eyes. It can cause your corneas to warp. It can cause blisters in your eyes.
I suggested all of this to an ophthalmologist in Washington, D.C. Washington Eye Care Center. Don't fucking go there. First of all, I got kicked out. I don't know if this is first of all. Second of all, I got first of all, she just decided to hate me and not provide care to me when I kept saying, but that's not the answer. Yeah. And I forget what terrible ideas she was giving me. And I'm like, no, this is a dry eye thing. And then she gave me the $600 medicine, and I came back and I'm like, that really was extremely painful. Like, there's no way I could do that.
Yeah, they're very unpleasant.
And she was like, well, you should have called me. And I'm like, well, okay, we had a follow-up, and I thought I would just tell you in the follow-up. And she's like, I can't do anything now. And I was like, oh, okay, but what do we do? And then anyway, I got fired because I complained because she like cut my appointment short, and I was like really mad, and then I complained, and then they like discharged me, and then they keep sending me bills. They said I missed my next appointment because they fired me, and then they keep sending me a bill for that appointment. And so that's why I was like, I know there's an ophthalmologist maybe affiliated in some way with Trail House, and I'm like, I'm just going to go to Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go there.
We have an autistic ophthalmologist. So, yeah.
Because it's very traumatizing, and the decision that my brain comes up to every time is then I will just not get medical care.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to be misunderstood and hurt anyway, why not just stay home and suffer without extra suffering?
Right. I'll just suffer, not suffer, plus the emotional, like, distress.
Exactly. And that again, this is a big reason why we die early, because it's learned helplessness. If we learn that we're not going to be heard, if we learn that we're not going to be treated well, we just sit home and die.
Right. Not
and
ideal.
We don't want that for you. We want you to be able to get the care that you need from people who understand you. And for that, you need connections.
Yeah. Autistic connections, in fact. I'm going to put the Facebook group in the show notes. I don't know what else we'll put in the show notes, but find us in Autistic Connections and come ask your questions there.
Yeah, come ask the questions. Use the search function for EDS, POTS. Every article that I can find, I put in there. So, yeah, there's a ton of research that has accidentally been accumulated.
We need each other now more than ever, you guys. So hang in there. Find your people. They're out there. You don't have to do this alone. We can't do it alone. So that's it. Autistic Medical Needs, Part 2. Check. Thanks, Matt.
Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition.
Be sure to tune in for our Autistic Culture episodes every Tuesday, where we celebrate autistic contributions to society, culture, and history.
For even more autistic culture, consider becoming a paid member for exclusive perks like live Q&A calls with us, a virtual writing circle, and our new Self-Defined Living course by Becca Laurie Hector.
Fun fact, Matt, it actually costs us $8 for every minute that people see or hear on the podcast. But our member pricing is just $8 a month.
What a bargain!
What a bargain! Buy 1 minute and get 500 minutes for free. Seriously, if you can afford this, we really appreciate your contribution. It makes all this possible.
And of course, the best way everyone can support what we are doing is to rate, review, share, and subscribe on Substack or your favorite podcast app.
This is the way.